Aloha! Welcome back, kids. Tell you, there's been a little opposition for me to get over to you today. I got my little kitty. She said she's starving again. Well, you know how cats are. It's feeding time. And I've tried this a few times, so I'm going to see if this time it's going to work. Yeah, I know. She's saying she's been up here a few times. I don't think she's going to last very long. Yeah, she's upset. She didn't get her wet food. And boy, kids, I'll tell you, when it comes down to cats and dogs, you better brush them, or there's going to be hair all over. Okay, Uncle Martin's thumbnail. This Sunday is brown recluse, which is a spider, kids. Brown recluse is a spider, and there's 3 of them in Arizona. Not 3 well, there's more than 3 brown recluses, but there's three poisonous spiders in Arizona. There's a wolf spider, there's a brown recluse, and then there's the black widow. So Uncle Martin was bit a couple times now, quite a few, the brown recluse. So I figured I might as well give you that one story that starts out with when I was first bitten by a brown recluse. What did I do? What did I do? Well, there's 2 things you can do, kids. You can go get a bunch of shots, or you can work it off. That's what the wild Hawaiian told me. The one that, well, we were at Beacons. I was at Beacons. We called him the wild Hawaiian. If you scroll down to jobs, he's the one that used to knock out his help. He had some emotional issues that I believe I might have helped him with. And that would be under bosses. Can't remember the number, but if you thumbnail down, bosses. Sometimes, kids, when you get more experience and you get a job, you're going to be dealing with bosses. And sometimes they can be negative. And that's why I did that episode on bosses. All the bosses that I had that were, well, seemed to be a little negative. But by the time Uncle Martin got done with them, they became more positive. And it can be done. That's why I did the episode bosses. But right now, the episode we're staying with is brown recluse. So it would have been 1981. I was at Beacons. I was out in the backyard playing with about a 150-pound German Shepherd. It was like Fritz, that German Shepherd that I spoke about in the past. This dog wanted to play. I could tell. And the lady says, "Be careful, he bites." I said, "Don't worry about it. This dog loves me." And he did. He wanted to play. So all I didn't have a ball. So I was in the backyard while the wild Hawaiian was doing the paperwork. It takes 15, 18 minutes. So I was in the back and I'm grabbing the wood off a wood pile, and I'm throwing it, and this dog is bringing it back halfway, then coming back slobbering, wanting more. I'm saying, all right, we got plenty of wood here. So about my 3rd or 4th time when I was grabbing the wood, these are like about pieces of wood so big, and they've been cut into quarters. So that size of piece of wood. So this one that I grabbed, I saw something, well, I thought it was a piece of bark falling off of it, but really it was a brown recluse running off my arm that I didn't know about. So when I threw that piece of wood, he actually brought it back to me. And that's when the wild Hawaiian said, "Hey, Uncle Martin, come on, get back in the truck. We got another pickup to do." So somewhere between the house and going back to the yard to pick up some more goodies to be delivered, I noticed my right arm being, it was dissolving. Well, actually, the 2 places where I had been bitten, there was, looked like tooth marks, or actually looked like a snake bite, to where, you know, I heard about snake bites, and I heard about it, and how it dissolves the skin. And I said, "I haven't been by no snake. I would have known that." And that was episode Snake and Sharks, episode 20, when I climbed up on the cliff and I was nosed 9 inches away from the rattler that was rattling away, and how I got out of that one. And that was a true story too. But I by God's grace, I haven't been bit by a snake. But I was bit by a brown recluse. And how do you know that, Uncle Martin? Because I'm in the truck, I'm saying, my skin's dissolving here. And I'm showing the wild Hawaiian. I'm saying, "What do you think?" He says, "You've been bit by a brown recluse." I said, "What's a brown recluse?" I've been in Arizona most of my life at this time. I'm like 1980. I was in my many schools here, if you followed me in the past, and I never heard about a brown recluse. Well, I didn't even know. Well, I wanted to know how bad, how negative was it? And he says, oh, there's two things you can do. You can go to the hospital, get a bunch of shots, and you know how I feel about needles, kids, and yeah, I'm not. So I said, what's the other thing? He says, you work it off. I said, work it off. He says, yeah, you'll. It's going to be about, oh, we're in the middle of July. We're going to be in the high hundreds. Yeah, you just sweat it out. You just work it off. I said, yeah. All right, I guess I'll work it off. So we get back to the yard, and I get inside the little gate. I didn't go inside the gate like the other fellow did, dealing with Bobby, the dispatcher. So that would have been later on if you go to the bosses one when Bobby had that situation with Gene. So I'm saying how I'm telling Bobby. I'm saying the Wild Hawaiian. I didn't say Wild Hawaiian. I said his name, which I can't think of right now. I said this driver of mine says. And then I just showed Bobby, and he says, you've been bit by a brown recluse. I said, really? Well, what do you think? And he says, well, you can go to the hospital and get a bunch of shots, or you can work it off. I said, I'm hearing it twice now, working it off. I said, what the heck? I'll work it off. So we get the tickets. I think one was going out to Ojai, which is a considerable difference. I don't know. Google Phoenix to Ojai. It has to be at least an hour drive, maybe more. So on the way over there, my skin is really opening up more. And then at that point, I said, you know what? I got this Boy Scout knife, and I think I'll heat it up with my lighter. And I put the 2 X's in and spit it out. Well, kids, that's what you don't do. You never do that. You don't do it with a snake bite, or you don't do it with poisonous, venomous spiders. Know why? Do you know why? Because if you have a cavity, now I had my teeth then, and I had probably a few cavities. You never do it because it goes into cavity and then goes even faster to your brain. The poison. It's not very positive. No, it isn't. So that's why we never do that unless you don't have any cavities. And I know you kids don't have cavities because you brush your teeth after every time you eat your candy. I know that. So the only reason you would do something like that is if you had no cavities or you didn't have any teeth. If that ever happened to anybody out there. So now we're going out to Ojai. I'm starting to feel a sensation up my arm, and I'm saying it doesn't feel very positive. And he says, you got the tourniquet around you got your, I had a bandana, yellow bandana. He says, put that around there and put a tourniquet, but don't tie it too tight. I did, and it stopped going up my arm. That was positive. So we get to the door of this house that nobody was at. We were supposed to deliver about 4,000 pounds that we had on the 40-footer. Nobody's home, so we can't deliver it. But lo and behold, to the left of the door, what do I see? Aloe vera plant. An aloe vera plant. And I already brought up all the things aloe vera does for you in that last episode of, I believe it was under aloe vera, that episode. I didn't bring up the brown recluse. I think I said I might have to later, and here it is. Here we are now. So I took off some of that, and I slapped it on. We had some duct tape in the car, in the back of the truck, and I wrapped it up. Felt immediately better. So we get back, west side, we're delivering stuff. By the end of the day, I sweat everything out. I worked it off. Oh, by the way, in the middle of that time, I was feeling really tired, really, really, really tired. And I said, hey, Wild Hawaiian, what do you say? I didn't say Wild Hawaiian. I said his name, whatever it is. I said, I'm really tired. Pull over. I'm going to sleep on some of the back of the sleeping bags, the beacon pads. I want to go to sleep. He says, no, you can't go to sleep. You'll never wake up. I said, really? You don't wake up? He says, no, that's one of the things. You got to stay up. You got to work it off. You got to stay up. Okay, so we get there to the place we had to get. I sweat it all out. I get home. Boy, that cat had a lot of hair. I got to brush that little bugger. May. So I said, I'm sitting on the couch. Marcia comes in, the nurse, And I had mentioned her in the past with the healing of triple cold pressed castor oil. I believe it was also in the same situation. I was on the couch again here now, and she's saying, "Why am I not vacuuming? It was my turn to vacuum." I said, "Well, I just got bit by a brown recluse." She says, "I don't want to hear any more of your stories." I said, "No, I really did. I got bit by a brown recluse." She says, "Let me see," because she oh, she says, "You've been bit by a brown recluse." I said, "Yeah, I think I said that." She says, so I said, "And how do you know that?" She said, "Because I just had a test. I had a test today on all the venomous snakes, bugs, spiders, and that is textbook brown recluse." I said, "Well, that's what everybody else said too." I said, "I was going to go to sleep back in the back of the truck," and she said, "No, no, you would never wake up." I said, "Really? Yeah. The Wild Hawaiian was right on that one." So then I said, "Oh, by the way, when I got home, I had the aloe vera still on there. I squashed it up a little more, and then I had put castor oil, triple cold pressed castor oil on there, and then I rewrapped it. Just wanted to put that out there. So that's how Uncle Martin got through the first bite. I'm going to leave it at that because I want to keep this short because I got to do a back to back since I promised you that I would do a back to back if I missed, and I did. If you haven't, people follow me, I know you was wondering what happened to me. Maybe not. So okay, that was it. Now, as we look into the brown recluse and black widows have acidic poison to them. I believe it's it's an organic acid that they have in them, and I believe the the acidity is 50, 58, 59. Let's just round it off. 60% acidity. And then there's the pH to it. It's between 5 and 6, I believe, on the brown recluse. And I believe it is on the black widow too. Both those the acidic and the pH. I just wanted to throw some scientific things out there because I didn't really. I am an alchemist, as we all are, but science. I think biology and chemistry. I wasn't really how I am in school. I really wasn't a studious person, but I do remember something. I remember this, that when you have an acid and you have an alkaline, and you have an acid and an alkaline, and you merge them together evenly, do you know what you get? You get a neutralization reaction. And this neutralization reaction brings it down to normal. The acidity is no longer getting you. So that's actually what I did, kids. I did something. It must have been through some past lives when I was a doctor, because it just came so natural that I would throw the aloe vera on there. When I got home, I'd put the cold pressed castor oil. And as we all know, cold pressed castor oil is an alkaline, and its pH is like 6 to 6, pH is a 6 to 8.1. And then the aloe has a pH of 7 to 8.5. So we have both of these are alkaline, and I was bit by something that was acidic. So I was naturally dissolving that acidity into more of a neutral base, basically, is what it came down to. So I just wanted to put that out there because black widow bites are probably I believe it was 15% or 15 times stronger than a rattler bite. Wow, isn't that crazy? So I'm just giving you some statistics that I recall having. That the black widow is probably the most dangerous of the bugs. They say it can lead to death, and well, by God's grace, I haven't been bit by a black widow, but I would still use the same thing if I had to, and that's what I wanted to come to get across. That I had a client. I don't remember. I think it was Miss Brown, and she was. I think she was about maybe 10 years younger than, or less experienced than I was. And I had her as a client. And so what happened to her was one day I went to pick her up and she never called me. And her husband came out and said, "Yeah, she's not going to the airport, but I am, and I'll use you." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's fantastic. What happened to Mrs. Brown, your girlfriend?" And he says, "Oh, she had to go to the hospital." And I said, "Hospital? Yeah, she got bit by a black widow." I said, "Really, a black widow? Well, what did they do for her?" And he says, "Well, she's back home now, but she's sleeping." And they gave her some Darvon, and then they sent her home. I said, "Darvon? Darvon's a pill. Darvon? They gave her Darvon for a black widow bite?" So he said, "Yeah, yeah." And so off to the airport we go. My point being, this is gonna come full circle on so many levels. Okay, so I went home eventually. I went to sleep and I had a dream. I had a dream about Miss Brown, this lady, Miss Brown, and I dreamt she was in a white, wearing something white, maybe a nightgown or something like that, and she was in a fetal position and she was in pain, a lot of pain, right in her side, a whole lot of pain. Not pain, a sensation. We want to get away from pain. I've discussed that before. It's a sensation until you say it's pain. Okay, episode 29, I believe. So I gave her a call the next day, and I wanted to know how she was doing. I said, "Mrs. Brown, I didn't say I had a dream about her yet. I just said, I heard you went to the hospital and they gave you some Darvon and everything." She says, "Yeah, and my side, I think it's my kidneys or liver. It's just terrible. I couldn't sleep all night." I said, "Really? I had a dream about you last night." She says, "Oh, really? What was it about?" I said, "Well," I said, "I felt that you were in some kind of white gown and you were in like a fetal position and you're kind of holding your right side." She says, "Well, I did have my white nightgown on and I was holding my right side where I got bit by the black widow." I said, "Really? This could be a sign." You know in the past how my dreams have come true as well as yours can come true when you start diagnosing them. And I already went through that in episode 48 where 3 of them came to true. And I did lose my canoe. Elsie the cow did save us. And that girl named Gretchen that was in the dream, well, I did run into her. So those 3 things happened. And that was in 48. And as we go to episode 60, that was absolutely just a foundation of what dreams can mean by diagnosing them. And then 61 too, I kind of threw that in there too. So I gave you a little something to work with. So this dream that came true for Uncle Martin, I said, "I've got to go." And I told her about triple cold pressed castor oil. She says, "Oh, that's fantastic. I don't have any." I said, "Don't worry about it." I went down to the health food store and I got her a bottle of cold pressed castor oil. And I brought it off, dropped it off at her house, and told her how to put the poultice on, anything like that. So I called her the next day. I wanted to know how she's doing. She says, "You know what? When I put that on, there was definitely something positive going on." And she says, by the time, because she couldn't sleep all night the night before, and then she said that she was not only able to go to sleep, but when she woke up, that sensation of her side, kidney, liver, whatever the side it was, because she's saying that she could feel something was dissolving inside her body. It was like really a sensation. She said pain. But then she said after the castor oil pack, she felt immensely better and she thanked me. My point being, I have not been bit by a so what I'm saying is a black widow and a brown recluse have the same acidity count, I believe, that would be neutralized by an alkaline. An acid and an alkaline, properly done, comes down to it nullifies the acidity. Now, I don't know if they're doing this yet in hospitals, but if anybody's out there it's listening, it's a doctor or nurse, maybe you want to try it. probably ask the patient first. I don't know if the hospital's going to go along with it. Because obviously they thought a Darvon pill for a black widow bite was just fine with her. Okay, I got to go now. I got to go do something. But the next, because this thumbnail of the brown recluse, I think that one story is enough. I have a couple more, but I don't have time for that. I just want to get through this and say the next episode that I have for you is it deals with Mrs. Brown. Because I brought it up to her the next time I saw her. I said, did you hear about this new thing that they're doing? It's called meat without hooves. She says, yes, I do. When you pick me up next time, I've got to go to, I don't know if it was China or Japan. She's going over there with a video to show how fantastic meat without hooves is. I said, really? So that is what meat without hooves, by the way, is meat. Meat you can grow in a petri dish. Okay. So I got to go do something, and when I come back, that'll be the thumbnail. Meat without hooves. So until I see you, which will be just short enough, that will be the next episode. Till then, aloha and be well, because I'm coming right back.